Mm. Hello, all. Welcome to Cosmic Roots. I am Grace, and I am so happy, delighted, and honored to be sitting here today with my friend, my sister, Veronica Lopez. Some of you might remember Veronica. She has been on an episode of this podcast before. She is such a wonderful human. She is here guiding so many people on this planet, particularly sisters, as a holistic wellness coach, as a yoga instructor, as a Sophia Circle facilitator, as a Sister Circle facilitator, a facilitator of sacred spaces of all kind, and just so grateful for the light that she brings and sheds upon this planet. Thank you for being here, Veronica.
Oh, thank you so much, Grace. This is such an honor and such a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
Wonderful. So today we will be diving into the topic of shame. I recently just had some experiences and lessons that brought me to understanding shame on a deeper level. And I had messaged Veronica in the hopes that she would like to just bounce off of me on this topic and share any personal experience or downloads on that same topic of shame and what shame is. So I'm just going to begin by speaking on shame. What is shame? What does it feel like? Why do we feel it? Can it exist in the body in different places? All of these questions we will be diving into. So, Veronica, for you in your life experience, what is shame and what does it mean?
So it's very interesting that I am currently in Mexico, in my hometown in Veracruz, where I grew up, and it's very synchronistic that I am here with you talking about this topic. We had scheduled this podcast 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately, I was sick and wasn't able to do it. And everything happens for a reason, right? So I'm like really happy that I'm here in my hometown in Mexico recording this, because this topic came up while I was having a conversation with one of my aunts, because I feel like, in maybe Latin American countries, we carry much more of this shame, this feeling of shame. And now living in the US, it's there, but it's different. It feels different to me, at least. And right now that I've been here, I've been reconnecting with that feeling of shame that no longer exists in me, but I have memories of what it used to feel like while being here. So it's very interesting that, for me growing up in Mexico, which I love my country, there's so much culture, so much richness to people, and the food is amazing, and it's such a rich country. It's so beautiful. But unfortunately, because of the programming and religion, and what we're healing, as a collective, I can feel that there's this sense of shame a lot more. It prevails here a lot more than I would like it, but it's true. I mean, I cannot notice it being there for some people. And the way I experienced it again was I shamed myself for everything, for the way I looked, for what I had, what I didn't have, shame myself for where I lived, compared to other people, for like the color of my skin. Certain people would make certain comments about certain, people being a little bit more light skin and some more dark skin. And so it's all a program, and it's all coming from people's beliefs and their own opinions, right? Their own, that they are carrying, right, from their ancestors, or from, again, this religion, societal programming, basically. And so I remember moving to the US and feeling, a little bit different, like, oh my God, like people are different here, like they don't care so much about what you're wearing. They don't label you so much. There's not so much judgment. So therefore, I feel like there's less shame, right? Because there's not as much judgment. And the funny thing about shame is that I have learned that it's not an emotion, actually. It's a core belief system about yourself and about who you think you are. And it's a negative view about yourself that doesn't come from ourselves. It comes from others. It comes from our environment. It comes from those people that are labeling us in some way. So it's been very interesting learning this relationship about shame. And what I do, I lead Sophia Circle Journeys, and ever since I started reading the Sophia Code and going through the certification process to become a Sophia Circle facilitator, that's where I realized how much shame I was carrying in my body or in my mind. Yeah, that, it becomes sort of like this response from the body. And so I have rebuilt this relationship with myself, to love myself, to honor my body, to familiarize myself with every part of my being, those shadowy aspects, and just like everything, right? And I feel like it's an evolution too. You may reach a certain level of self-love, and then you discover that there's more to love about yourself. And so it's I don't think it's like you ever reach that point where you're going to be free from suffering and, free from total pain, or just like this beliefs that you have about yourself. They keep coming up for me. It's like at times, not as much as before, but they do arise in certain points. And so it's just like an opportunity now to like love myself just as I am, just come to that reconciliation of like, this is who I am, and I completely love and honor my body, my mind, my being. And it's also meeting God. You're also meeting God through your own experiences in life. Making love, it's like knowing God again. And so many people, so many women still, probably men too, carry this shame about making love and fully like embracing your beloved. And it's such, it's so sad, because I've experienced it, right? And I've been there too, where like I couldn't fully express myself in that way. But I've come a long way from there, and I can say now that there's nothing more beautiful than like knowing yourself through this act of lovemaking, and you're meeting God in that space. So I really wish for everyone to experience that, because it's like the most amazing, beautiful thing. And I know I just cover a little bit of everything right now, but I just felt like I needed to say all of this. So
Yeah. Well, as you're speaking, I'm realizing just why I felt so drawn to ask you to join me in this. I love everything that you shared, and as you were speaking, it started raining here.
Ah, it's raining
So
here
now
too.
yeah. It's the sacral chakra, I feel has a lot to do with shame. The shame topic for me came up after I purchased this arm wrap. It's carnelian and copper. Carnelian has a lot to do with the sacral chakra, yes. And I remember like when I saw it, I was like, ooh. And it was $69. And I was like, can I get this for myself? Like, is it okay to just buy this out of pure pleasure and like feeling like a goddess when I put it on? And I
Yes,
did.
you
I bought
are.
it.
Yes, you are.
And then upon coming home, I live with my mother, her boyfriend, and my partner, and my grandmother currently. Upon coming home, I felt as though I needed to hide it from my mother because I would fear that she would, judge me for spending money on something that's a little more frivolous. It's not completely necessary, but I had a really good feeling about it and I followed that good feeling. Similar with cannabis, every once in a while I will sit with Mama Ganja and I will commune with her, and it's so beautiful. And she has taught me so many lessons. And the more I release my judgment of my relationship with her, the more magic she brings to our conversations. But this was another thing that I noticed. I was like, oh, whoa, I am so ashamed and afraid to show this to my mother, who I live with. This is my home space, my temple, and I'm not feeling free to like completely do the things that give me pleasure. Even worship, I was afraid to, look so devoted and be dancing in front of my mother. And so I had just realized this, and it has been since I've been reading the Sophia Code and in the Sophia Circle with Veronica. And as you spoke to, you're back in your family town and land where you grew up, where your roots are, and that's bringing up these memories of shame. And now you're able to look at it from an observer's perspective. And that was like the switch I felt after getting this. It was like, whoa, I can see it all in front of me. And I can notice that, okay, I've been holding back. I haven't been allowing. I've like put a dam up and been trying to hold back these waters of desire, of emotion, of sensuality.
Yes.
And I believe a lot of people probably have a lot of this come up in their family. And something that's really helped me has been just noticing it, writing about it, being able to be an observer. And then, as you said, the thoughts still arise, but now you mentioned that you use them as a signal like, hey, it's time to choose a new thought. And that is completely the key, using those thoughts, not being like, oh my gosh, I had another one. Why am I like this? Why is this happening? Because that's giving into it. That's giving the power away to that thought rather than maintaining your power and choosing, because that's what we always have in this life. We always have free will and choice of how we think, of how we move, of what we put in our bodies, all of it. And so, it's been very powerful to see myself as an observer in this area of life. And I just like to say that I'm also very grateful for my dreams and my connection to my dreams, for that is really how the flip switched as well. I had a dream that same night that there was so much that happened in the dream, but there was this one moment of feeling, intense feeling. And those are the key points in the dreams, is that moment where you feel something and everything pauses and slows down. And if you start to write down your dreams, you'll notice that there are those moments. And for this dream, it was me walking into my house with an ex-boyfriend, an ex-partner of mine. and stopping and making eye contact with my mother and thinking in my mind, oh, she's judging me. She thinks less of me. I'm doing something wrong. Feeling like that shoulder shrug. And yeah, so I just like to say that I'm thankful for my dreams, because that really, as I was writing that down, it all just clicked and unfolded.
That's beautiful. And also, like, it's just beautiful that you have that recognition and you're able to shift that. Like you said, you can always choose your thoughts again. And it's just so prevalent that, unfortunately, I feel like the most shame is oftentimes around family. And it's because of how we've been conditioned to act a certain way, to behave a certain way, to even like be a certain way. And as we grow older, we're changing, we're evolving, especially us that we're in this self-development, world. Also, like just like finding ourselves, like really discovering, asking those really hard questions or challenging questions that oftentimes, people don't even want to ask themselves. But it's like, do you rather stay in this contracted state, or do you rather face those challenging questions and start digging deeper and doing this work to know yourself anew? I love this from the Sophia Code, knowing yourself anew. Because it's no better or worse. It's just like, how can I create more beauty, more joy? How can I allow myself to feel worthy of this pleasurable item? It brings me so much joy. And it's also reconnecting to that innocence inside of us, that inner child that is pure and always guiding us from the heart to what brings us joy and true fulfillment, as opposed to being, contracted and staying fearful in this, like, don't look at me, I need to hide this from this person because they're not going to understand me. I need to shrink because, like, I can't be all of me because I don't know what they're going to say about me. And it's just like, how can you love yourself even more, to fully express yourself regardless of what people might think about you? And in that act, you're actually, you may stir up some people's egos and controlling behaviors, and they may try to control you, but after that, they will start to recognize, wow, like, she's really embodying herself in a way that is powerful, that I'm admiring, that is inspiring, that I wish I could do for myself. And then in that recognition, people start, we start inspiring and uplifting others. Because it's like, staying small and shrinking, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping yourself. It's not helping the world.
Yeah. And, in astrology, we see the sun as one of the most important aspects in the chart. And the sun is that light, that bigness that we are here to shine upon the world. And when we're shrinking, we're dimming that light. And that light in our astrology chart is what feeds and nourishes everything else in our being. So just, sharing it in that translation, the translation of astrology, and also, what you were saying about going deeper and deeper and deeper into ourselves. And I find that when I do, and as I do, the more and more judgment I release, because shame is really always paired with judgment. And the less I have judgments of others and their way that they're choosing to experience this life, which can be infinite, it can be anything we want, the more that I allow that and allow everything to exist as it is without trying to change it, just letting it be. The more I find that shame is just dissolving and the light is shining and the waters are flowing, the waters of emotion and pleasure and feeling good. And, you know, Abraham Hicks is someone that my partner Avery loves to listen to, and her lessons are incredible. You know, she speaks of the law of attraction. So everything is coming in towards us. And she speaks of just following what feels good. Like it can be that easy, you know, we don't always need to make a big deal out of things. Just follow what feels good. Follow what feels good. Does it feel good to you? Then do it. Does it not feel good? Then don't do it. It's like our inner guidance system are these emotions. And I just feel like that can eliminate so much trauma from our lives, which can be something that I feel we feed into to receive pleasure from when we're not content in what really feeds and pleasures our soul and our spirit, like that connection to God through, you know, whatever it is, dance or eating a wonderful home cooked harvested meal, or connection to friends, eye gazing with a beloved friend, you know, whatever it is. So yeah, I don't really know how I got here, but just letting it all flow.
As you're speaking about this, I'm almost picturing a little scared kid, you know, that is just like scared to be fully who they are because of fear of not being loved. So that's kind of like how we stay in that state of fear, you know, if we're not, because we're just afraid that those around us are not going to love us. But if we can like give ourselves that much love, like the answer is always love, we can love ourselves as we are, then everyone around us is just like seeing that sun shining, right? They're just going to see that sun shining, and there's just nothing but love there. It's just, you know, when the sun shines, it's nothing but goodness there.
I agree. And I also believe with that, it's like, yeah, we need to learn to feel so good with ourselves and our connection, and doing those things that bring us the feeling of pleasure of that connection, that it doesn't even matter if someone doesn't like us, or which they ultimately do and are deeply in love with us all. But if someone says a comment that, you know, makes us feel small, you know, we can just more easily brush that off because our cup is full.
Yeah, exactly. And it always isn't easy, you know, to like bounce back, but at least is like an opportunity to just sit with ourselves, and you know, maybe there is some pivoting or some shifting to do as to how we are allowing others to see us, or how we're expressing ourselves. But if there's not, and it's only like an opportunity to like be like, oh well, this is who I am, and if they're seeing that in me, it's because maybe they're not doing their own inner work, and they're probably not loving themselves. They're probably stuck in fear and judgment. And so I like to offer compassion to others in that way when I realize that, and just know that it's not me, and it's just simply they're walking their path, and they're you know, stuck in that cycle that isn't healthy. And that's you know, an opportunity for me to discern, do I want to continue to, you know, and have this relationship with this person, or, you know, completely cut them off. cut them off my life, or just maybe choose less interaction, or whatever the path of least resistance is.
Yes. And I feel like it's in just that, how you spoke about not having the judgment for them for being exactly where they are. That is just like such a big part of it too, because if we do, we're like, oh, well, I know all these things and I'm free of this, but you're not, and that's wrong. That's shame again. So there's just such a lightness and a weight off of the shoulders. I feel when we take that responsibility off of like needing to heal other people or fix other people, because there's nothing wrong with them. They're on their path, and I think the best thing we can do is know and affirm that they're on their path and that they're exactly where they need to be, and everything is happening in its own divine timing in their lives. I think there's so much power in that, because often what we expect of others is what we see. It's like what we're creating our perception in our expectation, and we're seeing that whether it's happening or not. So having those positive expectations, I feel like, is just a really beautiful way to counter shame and to have it dissolve and rise from the ashes as something new, as empowerment, as unconditional love.
Yeah, that it's very it's like I remember I posted this question on my social media, I don't know, a couple of years ago, like, who believes in unconditional love? And it was really sad to like get comments that most people don't believe in unconditional love. They don't even know what that is unless they have a child, or love for their parents. And sometimes that can, bring up some, but yes, unconditional love for ourselves. That's where it starts. We can't even have unconditional love for ourselves, then obviously it's gonna be hard to offer that to others. And that unconditional love for ourselves comes from knowing where we come from, who our source of divinity is. In the Sophia code, we call God Sophia, because it's this feminine aspect. It's like we need to reconcile with the feminine aspect of God, because we are just like God. Yeah, we were made to the image of likeness of our creator, and we have the masculine and the feminine as well. But if we don't know all of these aspects of ourselves, then it's hard to love all of who we are. And so this is why I love the Sophia code, because it really took out the veil of, what is wrong, what is right in religion and programming. And I feel like that was the hardest program that I was running in my mind, because I didn't want to disappoint God, because I was raised Catholic, and so I believed in a God. And at some point in my life, I was so broken inside that it was hard for me to believe there was a God. And then eventually found my way to yoga, and through yoga I found that there is this essence in this force of the universe. So I started calling God the universe, and just using other words that were less triggering. And so eventually, like, just recognizing that God is all of it, and God does not judge, and God is just love, and God is just giving us free will to experience all of it, because we can experience the darkness and we can experience the light. And it is like, who are we here to, what are we here to do? Are we here to entertain the darkness? Like, that's not me. Some people may be walking that path, and bless their hearts, but we're here for the light. We're here, and I believe like most of the people that are listening to your podcast, they're here for the light. They're here to meet themselves in that in that new recognition, free from judgment, free from suffering.
Yes.
And this is what the Ascended Masters in the Sophia Code are guiding us by example and mentoring us. And so I would like to read this little quote that I have here that I heard Kyra say, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please, please.
Okay. So I just love it because it's, very clear. She says that shame is a weapon that was created by the ego structure of humanity. And so self-honor and self-love unplugs us from our addiction to shaming ourselves for who we are.
Mm.
And
I
when we read this initiations out loud from the Sophia Code, especially Isis, we're through the power of our voice, we're reaffirming the truth of who we really are, the power, the strength, the light, the holiness, the sovereignty of our divinity that no one can take away from us, and that has never left us. It's always been there.
Yes, I wanted to speak about that as well, the Sophia Code and the Isis chapter. As I said earlier, I'm in a Sophia Circle journey with Veronica as my facilitator, and we just moved on to the Isis chapter, and I began to read it, and it felt different than the rest of the book to begin with. Like, it felt even more real and activating to my DNA. But it really stood out to me that the way she honors her life as a human and her humanity was through having children and making love and even, tending to her home, kind of like it's like a stay-at-home mom. That's like the vibe I got. I was like, okay, she's the OG stay-at-home mom. And this is so beautiful and freeing for me to read because I'm quite young, but I have such strong desires of, being a mother and all that has to offer. And I've even found myself feeling ashamed of that desire, feeling like, oh, I'm too young. Oh, this is the age where women are so independent and doing other things and focusing more on their businesses. And, we're not stay-at-home moms anymore. And just all of this, these perceptions and these ways that people were living, I let it really affect me and tell me how to live my life. And the more and more I just continue on my journey of deepening my relationship to myself and to God, I realize that it's so divine, exactly what I want, exactly what I desire. There's so much divinity and power and purpose to it, even if it's different than what other people that are my age are doing or wanting or desiring. May they be free to choose, and may I be free to choose. There's anything that you choose is divine and perfect, and plays into the greater balance in life. There's so much more. It's like I see, the zoom out from Earth, and then the zoom out from our solar system, and the zoom out and the zoom out. And it's like, this is a grand and big universe that we live in. And it's like, I don't need to micromanage myself. I don't need to micromanage my life. I just need to feel good and follow what feels good and continue on this path. And yeah, so that's just something that already from reading like a few pages in this chapter, I've been sitting with and feeling and like allowing.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing the dialogue that is happening in your mind, because that just like is so vulnerable of you, first of all, and so courageous too. So thank you for sharing that, and just giving the listeners that perspective that we all have that dialogue happening in our mind. And in your, I see you as such a brave young woman, such a wise young woman, and so radiant and poised, it's like you just have this like really heart center approach and communicate really well, and just you're such an inspiration to me and to many. And so thank you for all that you do. And if that desire of being a mom is in you and you want to pursue it, and that's your heart speaking to you, go with that, listen to that. Like, it doesn't matter what the world is doing. You're being guided by your own heart, your higher self, to step into motherhood, whenever you feel ready, and that's just more blessings. And yes, no need to, like you said, micromanage anything. And so I'm just so happy that, you're walking this path of sovereignty alongside with me through the Sophia Code and stepping into your sovereignty. And yes, like I know that by the end of the journey, you're going to feel like you're wearing that golden dragon technology, that bodysuit of like, it's like this, feels like an armor of gold that's just surrounding, and you're shining your light, and you're just unapologetic about who you truly are, which comes from love. And so I'm really, really excited to be on this journey with you.
My gosh, thank you so much. I'm just like feeling this warmth in my heart as you're speaking, and it brings some emotions to me. I haven't shared this with many people because it's so funny. Like sometimes the things we're most ashamed about can be so simple. And yeah, it's just been so synchronistic what's been coming up in my life recently and the messages that I've been seeing. And yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And likewise, thank you. Thank you for shining your light and being here on this path. And you are such an inspiration to me. And that is why I felt this trust and this steadiness in committing to this journey. We have 13 circles together, and they're every other week. So this is like a long commitment of showing up. And that's something that I normally kind of shied away from and was like, oh, I don't really like to make commitments. But when they feel good, I'm learning that I really do. And there's a lot of yumminess that comes out of showing up consistently in a sacred space and, reading these texts out loud and feeling this. It's so gentle. It's like such gentle activation, almost like cacao, it's this gentle yet powerful healing. And yeah, that's something. Sometimes these sticky things in us, whether it's shame or any other feelings that we may feel are bad or wrong, it's like, can I soften into this? Can I lean into this? Can I love this? And I feel like these gentle medicines, like the Sophia Code, like cacao, like sister circles, I feel like these are just so key in addressing the stickiness and softening it, and yeah, letting it all be gentle and easy and yet powerful and potent. And sometimes, something that may look hard on the outside feels so easy to us because we are prepared, because we are strong and resilient and, rooted down deeply into ourselves and rooted down in our connection to God, to Sophia God, all that is.
Thank you so much for sharing that too. Yeah, it's a true commitment to showing up. It takes willingness, and I like to like always think to like, why am I here? And this is why I'm here. There's no other reason. Like I don't find enjoyment or fulfillment, I should say fulfillment, from anything else that distracts me from the truth of who I am and why I'm here, and exploring more of me and more of God and more of like this divine feminine essence. It's like always creating itself anew, and it when it's coming from love, it's so expansive and so glorious and so wow. It's like, wow, what else can I create? And so it takes that willingness to show up, and it takes that courage to show up, right? If we don't show up to the unknown, sometimes to the uncertainty, we don't get to discover this. And I've tested it with myself, when I feel like I'm not growing and I'm not evolving, it's because I'm stuck in fear and listening to the programming, just like, just staying in fear, not taking those bold steps towards creating anew and rediscovering myself. We're so attached to this version of ourselves sometimes, and that's something, I don't know if it's because of certain planets in my astrology, but it's something that I just love to go deeper and discover more. And it's like, what else can I, it's like this sense of adventure that I have, that it's just like I want to discover more. And so
yeah, well, that's so funny that you mentioned that, because it reminds me, when you were speaking earlier, I wanted to confirm, is your moon in your 9th house? Is that correct?
I don't remember. Right
okay,
now.
that's okay. I think it is, and I'm pretty sure it is. And the reason that I thought that is you were sharing you didn't want to disappoint God. And that was like where you didn't want to disappoint. And I thought to myself, for me, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. My moon's in my 4th house of home and family, connection to parents. 9th house is our connection to God. And so that's why I was like, and I'm pretty sure I remember it being there in your chart. So we'll have to check.
It's opposite my sun, and my sun, I think it's
is
in
the
my
3rd house. So it is in the, yes.
Yeah,
exactly. So maybe that's a key that's coming through, maybe looking to our moon in astrology, and specifically the house it's in. Maybe there's some sort of not wanting to disappoint that presence, whatever that is. And if you have access to your chart, or if you have access to your birth data, I definitely encourage you, plugging into some astrology software and checking your moon and checking your house, and just seeing if anything arises, curious about that.
That's a good clue. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. And let me check this. Yeah, so ultimately I feel as though, it's just a journey. Like you said, the most powerful expansions that I've experienced in my journey have been when I showed up. The first time it was reading a book in high school, in class, the Celestine Prophecy. My showing up then was actually reading it. That was like the first time I was reading a book for pleasure in a really long time. And it was reminding me of the divinity of life. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend. And then it was showing up to Costa Rica to do a yoga retreat. Like that takes follow through, that takes planning, that takes the earth element of bringing it to the ground. And now it's showing up in the Sophia circles, and now it's showing up to the Aztec dance classes that I've been taking. Again, I had that, oh my gosh, am I ready to commit to this? Like, I don't want to feel tied in, but wait, this is a really amazing opportunity of meeting others in a sacred space. Maybe I should lean into this. And it's just so rewarding, So just to anyone listening, sometimes there can be doubt, even if something is right for us.
Mm.
And just, I encourage you to really ask yourself, like, is this going to give me more energy or is this going to deplete my energy? And if it's going to give me more energy, more radiance, more illumination of my spirit, then I'm going to say yes. Completely.
Yes.
So yeah,
And the universe will always support that. It would always provide with the resources and everything that is needed to, just continue to expand in that which brings blessings to you and to others.
I completely agree.
Mm.
Wow. It's so funny, at the beginning of this conversation, I just saw like all these topics, all this unfolding I wanted to do of this shame. And I feel like so efficiently and easily and, quite precisely, I feel like I've expressed like all of those things. How do you feel? Do you feel there's anything left you'd like to share?
There's just something that I also wrote down that Kyra said, and I thought this was powerful because, there's powerful women out there, and we are all very, very psychic. And sometimes we're afraid of our own intuition and our own psychic abilities. And because we don't want to feel judged, or maybe we fear some sort of criticism or whatever the case may be, we kind of like repress all those psychic abilities that we inherently have. And there was this question that someone asked Kyra, and this is what she said. Basically, the question is like, how do women, or even if you're a man with psychic abilities, how do we trust our psychic abilities when we feel like if we say something, we have this maybe fear from our certain past life, or maybe it's in our ancestral line that we've spoken up and we've been we were, how do you call that? Persecuted, yes. You were persecuted in some way, or even killed, or even, like your kids got taken away, or whatever the fear may be. How do we trust to, speak up when we have this fear, right? And so this, I'm sure, can be applied to another situation, but specifically about psychic abilities, because this is something that we also don't talk about often, right? And so in the psychic abilities is clairsentient, claircognizant, clairvoyance. You're going to help me with the fourth one, and clairaudience.
Clairaudience, yeah.
So this is what Kyra said, that there are women who are trying to bridge their psychic abilities in a mainstream setting that feels strangled by the chokehold that they're putting on themselves, thinking that they have to hide who they are as light workers to stay safe in order to keep their marriages, keep their children. And it's so important to recognize when we're doing this and to step into our sovereignty, right? We've never seen this, like we're like the light workers that are here. We're here to create our new reality. We're here to really create heaven on earth. And so the way we move past these fears is through really stepping into our sovereignty and embodying the fullness of who we are, with those psychic abilities, with that intuition, with that vulnerability that we are, So that's just the last thing that I wanted to say.
Well, I love that. And that actually made me remember something I wanted to share. And first of all, earlier I just tuned into an energy update from, oops, music started playing. It says
The
88
powerful energy.
hertz abundance gate. That's the music that started playing. Well, anyways, he had mentioned that
What
he
was that?
tuned in. Oh, it's 888 energy abundance frequency.
Oh,
Infinite
yeah,
abundance. That's what started
ringing.
playing. um, but anyways, he had tuned into this energy of September and had mentioned that a lot of us are going through a heightening in our psychic abilities at this time. So it's really divine and synchronistic that that comes up, and that is a wonderful message for this time. You know, hey, he also mentioned that it could feel a little bit shaking us up, you know, and it's just such a strong message to tune into our environments and to ask ourselves, like, are we placing ourselves in environments that we feel we need to hide? Are we, you know, like, what is and why? And
Exactly.
it's so interesting, and I felt resonance with that, you know, of having past lives when, you know, I was silenced for my wisdom. And I feel as though in my life that the thing that has helped me the most again is showing up, you
Mm,
know, for those places like that I'm really scared. For me, it was music and
mm,
singing and my actual singing voice, which
mm,
has so much power because all of our voices, especially when we sing, are
mhm,
powerful and
mhm.
healing and medicine for us and others. And I
Absolutely.
was so afraid to sing. But
Mm,
once I just started trying and, you know, let myself be a beginner, let myself be bad, turn on the faucet and let all the dirty water come out before the clean and beautiful, pristine water comes. It's like,
mm,
yes, the allowance of being a beginner. And I feel like it's so humbling and also such medicine to any parts of ourselves that have been suppressed in any
mm.
lifetime or any current reality.
I love
Um,
that. I
and
love that so much.
and another thing for the psychic is you had mentioned that oftentimes shame comes from other people's thoughts and feelings towards us, and oftentimes we psychically pick that up.
Yeah.
You know, I feel, especially as children, you know, we can feel when people are thinking about us. We can feel when people, you know, we can see it in their body language, clairvoyance. We can hear it in their tone of voice. We can just sense it, whatever it is, however you sense. You can also check your moon for that and how your psychic abilities come through.
Mm,
Um, so I feel as though as these psychic abilities do come up, it's so important to have boundaries with our psychic abilities and to be able to protect our energy and yeah, just like have a mirror over ourselves so that any negativity that comes just return to sender with love
mm,
and with their lesson because that's not for
mm.
me today.
It's so beautiful. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for
thank
sharing.
you for bringing that up.
Mhm. Absolutely. Mm. I thought that might help some of you out there. And so just realized I didn't share who Kyra is. So she's the author of the Sophia Code. So just for
Yes,
anyone curious, she's the author of the Sophia Code. Mm.
yes. I actually have the book right in front of me.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you for sitting here with me and for having this conversation. I have deeply enjoyed this conversation. And
Same. So much fun. I really loved everything we touched and thanking God, Sophia, universe, source, energy for guiding us in this
mhm.
beautiful share, in this beautiful co-creation. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And may it bless the hearts of everyone listening today.
Yes, yes. Oh.
Mm.
And may I share the prayer from the Sophia Code?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, absolutely.
Share that once I find the page. I think I remember it though.
Mm.
Just closing off with a prayer and some deep breaths. So just go ahead and close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes, to look inside, to turn your attention inward, to feel and bring your awareness to your heart, to your womb, to your spirit. I invite you to take some deep breaths, really letting your body completely fill up with air, letting the belly grow as you inhale. So first I'd like to share the prayer directly from the Sophia Code. This prayer is so beautiful and it invites us to release judgment because all is one. Holy Mother Sophia, take us to that place deep within your womb where we can know nothing and be reborn anew. Taking another big deep belly breath and letting that land in your body. Letting it resonate with the cells in your body and activate your DNA. And I lift up the prayer that any and all listening or any and all interactions with this podcast may result in healing, in dissolving of any ancestral shame, in deep connection to the divine feminine in the womb space. Any interactions, listens, even someone just looking at the name of the podcast, the picture, seeing it advertised. May this ripple out a wave, a freeing wave, lifting weight off of all of our shoulders and bringing us back to our center, to the truth of who we are, the truth of our divinity here on this planet, the truth that we are all worthy and deserving of pleasure, of feeling good, of living the life that is so yummy and exactly created and catered for our being. Because we are all deserving of that. May we all be who we were meant to be. May we all shine our light so brightly to warm the earth, to warm the hearts of all on the earth. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our ancestors, our guides, ascended masters. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you to any and all listening. May you be blessed in all ways.
May you be blessed in all ways.
Aho Ashe.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, we will love reviews if you like to share. Any
Yes,
comments.
definitely. And for Veronica, for you, how can anyone listening who wants to connect with you, maybe have a Sophia circle or anything like that, how can they connect to you?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So through my Instagram, I am Veronica Lopez, and I have a Linktree link there, and you can go and actually apply for my next Sophia Circle starting November 4th or 6th. Forget, it's a Sunday, November 6th, I believe. But yes, I would love to connect, hear from you. And my Facebook is Veronica Dulce Lopez. So through those two social media, and I'm working on my website. So that will
Awesome.
be coming up soon. But there is a website for the Sophia Circle journey, which it's best to just go through the link so you can just tap.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And I will put those written out as links in the comments of this podcast or in the bio. And yeah, I definitely recommend. That's all I can say about the Sophia Circle and the Sophia Code. It's just, if you feel the call, I encourage you to listen and to dive in.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you again, Veronica, and thank you to all listening. And just gonna close it out now.